Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd. Fa'a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah. وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله. Excellence of conveying salutations upon the beloved and blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, the person who recites 1,000 salutations will not die until he sees his placement in paradise. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Inshallah, Azza wa Jal, we will learn about the topic of burial. How to bury the deceased. We have done the topic of shrouding. We have learned what to do when we wash the body, meaning ghusl mayyit. We've done these actions. Now we are coming closer to the topic of burial. Okay? How would we do the burial? What steps to take when we're doing the burial? Insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, today here in the Dawateislami summer school, we will learn from the app Muslim Funerals. Now this is available on your cell phone device. I'm just going to go through it, but download this app. You never know, a loved one will pass away. Yeah, maybe your mother, maybe your father, maybe your relative, maybe your close friend. The time of death can come. And if you educate yourself in these matters, how pleased your friend, your family member will be when you've done the rituals of burial. Meaning according to the sunnah of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So we'll take some steps, we'll try to understand on what steps we can learn today, inshaAllah. Okay, when we're ready. Number one, to select such a place for the burial in the graveyard where there has never been a grave before. Okay? Number two, let's learn about the length of the grave. How the height of the grave should be. The length of the grave should be slightly greater than the height of the deceased, and the width should be of the half of his height. The depth of the grave should be at least of a half of the height of the deceased, and it is better if the depth is also equal to the height of the deceased. The next one, number three, to completely plaster the grave and the inside surface of slabs with mud before bringing the deceased if the walls of the grave are made from bricks. Okay? Number four, to make and place an nama or shajara and other tabarakat relics in it. Okay, so someone might have a sajra aliyah which I'll show you. Someone that recites this every day, right? Yeah, Sajra Aliyah. Or Ain Nama. These are like tabarakats. Now some people might put different things in there. They might put the soil of the Karbala in there, right? To relieve any torment in the grave. To make the questions and answers easy for the deceased when the angels enter the grave. Number five. What's number five? To blow over the inside slabs after reciting Surah Al-Yasin, Surah Al-Mulk and Drood Taj. Okay? Drood Taj. So this what you'll do is you recite all these three and you'll blow inside the grave. You know the one that you've dug out? where you've plastered the slabs inside with mud, etc. So number 6, to lower the deceased into the grave from the side of Qibla. Number 7, to keep the mayyit of a woman covered from any cloth from the time of lowering her into the grave till the slabs are placed. Okay? And number 8, to recite the following dua while lowering the deceased into the grave. So let's learn this dua. Bismillahi wa billahi wa ala millati Rasulillah. MashaAllah. Huh? Yeah, when putting the deceased into the grave, when you're lowering him into the grave, you know them strings that they have? The coffin's there, they've got the strings and they're lowering it. So at that time, huh? Yes. So when you're lowering him, you're going to recite Bismillahi wa billahi wa ala millati Rasulillah. You already know the first two phrases. You know Bismillahi, yeah? Wa billahi wa ala millati Rasulillah. So learn this dua inshallah. Number 9, to lay the deceased on his right side or turn his face towards the direction of Qibla and to open the knots of the shroud. Now when you bring the deceased person, his face might be covered and it'll be knotted. So his face won't be revealed. So they say open his face, okay? Or not his face, right? So before bringing the deceased, make a pillow of soft sand in the grave and through its support, lay the deceased on his right side. If it is not possible to turn the face towards the Qibla as much as possible, to turn it easily. So do it the amount that you can do. Even if you get like 1 or 2 inch, right? Or if his head's a bit difficult to turn, then do a bit whatever you can do. Okay. So to make a soft sand of a pillow, right? So gather some soil together, right? And make a pillow. Okay? So that the deceased can put his head comfortably. Number 10, to throw sun thrice from the head side of the deceased after the burial. Yeah? So you'll go to the head side and you know the soil that they've taken out of the grave, there'll be a hump of soil. So what you'll do is, we're going to learn 3 du'as that a person reads when he throws the soil on the head side. Okay? So that's when they've put the slabs on. Yeah, so they'll put the deceased in. You made the bed, the face is towards the Qibla, they'll put slabs on top. Yeah, this happens in the UK. So you got slabs like this, and then they throw the soil on the head side. Okay, so the way they do this, there's 3 du'as that we're going to learn inshallah. The first time when you're going to throw the sand, the soil, yeah, is to say, Minha khalaqnakum. So let's say again, Minha khalaqnakum. Minha khalaqnakum. When do we say this?
The head side.
Yeah, head side or what else? You say this when you throw the first soil. The second time you throw it, what are you going to say? وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ. Okay, that's the second time you're going to read this dua, okay? And then you're going to read وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَعَارَةً أُخْرَى. Again, وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. Okay, this is the third time you can read this dua. Okay, so maybe if you've memorized it, we can memorize it together. If you have more time, when I finish, inshallah, we'll have a practice of this again. Number 11, to make the grave convex like the hump of a camel and to keep the height of the grave a handspan, right, or a little more. Okay, so when you put the soil in, It shouldn't be flat. Okay? Why they do a hump? Then you know there's a grave there. You know there's a hump. Yeah? So make a hump like a handspan, a bit more higher than it's what it is. So make sure there's a hump there. And number 12, to sprinkle water on the grave after the burial. Okay? And then number 13, to place flowers on the grave, because they will do tasbih as long as they will remain fresh and the deceased will find peace. Okay, what does flowers do? They do tasbih, mashallah. I will test you on this, okay? And number 14, to recite the starting ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah from Alif Lam Mim to Muflihun after the burial at the head side of the deceased. Okay? So you know Surah Baqarah? Yeah, the first opening. So after Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Baqarah starts. And there you're going to recite what? Alif Lam Mim Dhalikal Kitabu La Rayba Fi. You'll complete this surah up to Muflihun. Okay? But from the head side, you'll recite this. Okay? Then what you'll do after that, so, and then ayahs of the last ruku. Amana Rasul till the end of surah at the feet side of the deceased. So what you'll do is, so you read the start, but then you can read the last ayahs. The last ayahs, which is Amana Rasul, till the end of the surah at the feet side of the deceased. Okay. Number 15, to do Talqeen. Okay. So while standing beside the grave on the head side of the deceased, say the following thrice. Ya, so and so son of so and so. For example, let's do an example. Yeah? What have we got here? Aqib. Aqib's been buried into the grave, right? So I'm going to do Talqeen of Aqib. But what I'm going to do is, first of all, thrice I'm going to mention his full name, Aqib Fazil. Then bin his mother's name. So I'll recite this 3 times and then I will recite this dua. It's a long dua, right? For example, if I didn't know his name, he was an unknown person to me, right? Then what would I say? If the mother's name is not known, say the name of Sayyidatuna or Sayyiduna Hawa. Sayyiduna Hawa in its place. Then say the following. So there's a long dua to read. Okay. Number 6. After you do the Talqeen, yeah, to make dua and do Isal Swab. So everybody would have recited Surah Al-Fatiha, or you would have done a Khatam Sharif, you know, the Khatam that we recite. Yeah? So Surah Kafirun, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Falak, Surah Wan-Nas, and then you would recite Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Baqarah. Yeah? Then finish off with the Khatam Sharif. Then you would make dua. Once everybody's made dua, and then what you would do is to call out Azaan while standing beside the grave at the head side. Okay? So go to the head side of the deceased, face to the direction of Qibla. By the blessing of Azaan, the deceased finds refuge from the evil of Shaitan. Because of the Azaan, mercy descends, grief of the deceased ends. His innoxiousness comes to an end. He attains salvation from the torment of the fire and the torment of the grave. Moreover, he remembers the answers to the questions of Munkar and Nakir. Okay? There's a few questions you will be asked, about 3 to 4 questions in the grave. Yeah? Their questions will become easy for you when you call out the Azaan. Okay? Are you ready for the test? Which area should I do the burial of a deceased? Gee, what's the answer?
Where nobody was buried before.
So where there's nobody been buried before, mashallah, correct answer. Okay, number 2. Who can tell me the length and the height and the width of the grave? Okay, just give me one part of it and then we'll ask the next question to someone else.
The length of the grave should be slightly higher than the height of the person.
Okay, correct. Okay, so what would be the the width of the grave? So what's your name?
Abdullah.
Abdullah. So what's the answer, Abdullah?
Half of the height of the guy.
Half of the height of the guy. Okay.
Half of the height of the person.
So guys, we've understood the length of the grave, the width of the grave. Now we want the answer. What should the depth of the grave be? Okay, so who knows the answer? What's your name?
Seth.
Seth. What's the answer, Seth?
The height of the person.
The height of the person. Correct answer. So the next question is, what should a person do before bringing the deceased? How should he prepare the inside of the grave? Ji, Aki, what's the correct answer?
You prepare the grave by plastering it with slabs of mud.
With mud, okay, that's fine. Guys, the next question is, when I put the deceased in the grave, what can I put with the deceased of the person in the grave? Sufyan, what's the correct answer?
You put a shajara in the grave.
Okay, mashallah. What else can you put other than sajra as well? Ji, what's the correct answer?
Barkat and Nama.
Add nama.
Add
Correct,
nama.
mashallah. Okay, guys, the next question is, what can I blow inside the slabs? Which surah? There are 3 things I can read. Right? Just tell me one at a time. I just want one person to do one at a time. Okay? Abdul Rahman, sorry. What's the correct answer? What's the first thing I should recite?
Surah Yasin.
Surah Yasin. And what do I do with Surah Yasin?
You blow it
Blowing where?
in the grave.
Inside the grave. Okay, correct. Sorry, what's your name?
Habib.
Ibrahim.
Habib.
Habib. Acha, Habib, tell me, what's the second surah to recite?
Surah Al-Mulk.
And after reciting Surah Al-Mulk, what should I do?
Blow in the grave.
Blow in the grave. Okay, correct. What's your name?
Hamid.
Hamid. So what's the, after Surah Yasin, Surah Mulk, then what do you recite?
Durud Taj.
Durud Taj. And then what do you do after reciting Durud Taj?
Blow in the grave.
Blow it in the grave. Correct. Okay, next question. Abdul Muiz is going to answer this one. How should one lower the deceased into the grave? From which side? Ji, Abdul Muiz, answer that for me, please.
The side towards the Kaaba.
Side towards the Kaaba. Correct, mashallah. Okay, next question is, that what's the ruling regarding a woman or a sister to be lowered into the grave? What should one do when lowering a sister, a female, into the grave? Ji, what's your name?
Fahim.
Ji, correct answer please.
When after you've covered her and you lower her into the grave, you put slabs over the grave and then you take the cloth off her body, like
That's fine.
after when covered.
Okay, but the cloth is for to cover her. So her her body parts do not get revealed, okay? Okay, next question. What supplication do I recite when lowering the deceased into the grave? Go on.
Bismillahi
Bismillahi
wa billahi
wa billahi
wa ala millati Rasulillahi.
The last bit, is that correct?
Rasulillahi.
Okay guys, that's the dua. Okay, next question is, what should one do with the coffin? Okay, the shroud that is wrapped, that's one question. The next question is, what should someone do with the face of the deceased or the body of the deceased, right? And what support he can give on the head side. So there's 3 answers of this question. We'll see who can answer these. Obed, see if you know all 3 of them.
Study first you untie his shroud, then you make
Tie
it
shroud to what? To reveal what?
to reveal his face.
Okay, correct.
Then you make a pillow of sand.
Then make a pillow of sand.
Then you face it face towards the Qibla.
Faces towards Qibla. What if I can't move his face? Then what should I do?
Then you should
Do much as possible,
Yeah.
even if it's
put it up as possible.
yeah. Okay, that's
Yeah.
you answered most of it. Okay, correct. Okay. So when we buried the deceased, what should we do with the sand? Okay, which side should we start from? And there are 3 supplications to recite. What are they? Them supplication. So one by one, answer them, inshallah. Okay, when you're ready, Ammar, give me the correct answer.
You throw the sand from the head side.
So throw the sand from the head side.
side.
Correct. What's your name?
Hashim.
Hashim. So tell me, Hashim, the first soil that you're going to throw on the head side, what am I going to recite?
Min khalaqnakum.
Minha
Khalaqnakum.
minha
Khalaqnakum.
khalaqnakum. Okay. When throwing the second sand on the head side, what should I recite? The second?
فيها نعيدكم.
Fiha
نعيدكم.
nu'idukum. Correct. Okay, so what's the third? When I throw the third soil, what do I need to recite? G.
ومنها نخرجكم تارة أخرى.
Ukhra. Taratan ukhra.
تارة أخرى.
MashaAllah. Do you read it again once more time?
Yeah.
Fiha
فيها
nukhrijukum
نخرجكم
taratan
تارة
ukhra.
أخرى.
Okay, correct. What should I do with the soil? So once I put the soil on there, what do I need to make the soil up to? The height of what? Okay, Azaan, what's the correct answer?
A hump of a camel and a hand
Span
span.
is the correct answer.
Span.
Hand span, yes? Correct. So after putting the soil in and we made the hump, then what do we do after we've put the soil in the grave?
Sprinkle water.
What's your name first?
Abdul Rahim.
Abdul Rahim, what do you do?
Sprinkle water.
Correct, mashallah. Okay, what's the next question? The next question is, guys, are you ready? After sprinkling water, what do I do after sprinkling water?
Rehan Hussein.
Okay, what's the answer?
Plant flowers.
Flowers, what do flowers do?
They grow.
They grow, yes, and what else? They do what else?
Read tasbih.
They do tasbih, correct. After planting flowers, what do we do on the head side and what do we recite on the feet side?
You recite Surah Baqarah from the head side.
Okay, mashallah, and from the feet side?
No, from the feet side.
Aman al-Rasul.
Aman al-Rasul, yeah. From
you
the feet
recite
side.
the end of Surah Baqarah and that's what you recite. Musa, after reciting Surah Al-Baqarah, the first and the last ayahs, then what do you do with the deceased? Ji Musa, when you're ready.
You do Talqeen and then you say the full name of your mother's name and then that's it.
The person's name and what?
And the full name of the mother's name.
Mother's name. And then what? Is that dua to read or something?
Yeah, there's a dua to read as well.
Okay. Aman, isn't it? So what do you do after the Talqeen? What should you do then, Aman?
You should do
And what else?
and swab.
Isal Swab. Okay, correct. So Abu Bakr, tell me what's the last and final thing to do once we've done everything?
Sorry, you read the Azaan.
You read the Azaan, correct.